Hello, if you like this video, please rate, comment, share and subscribe. And if you dislike it, please tell me why so I can improve. I thought I would get back on the horse here and talk about alkaloids. Alkaloids are nitrogen containing. Actually, alkaloids are interesting because alkaloids have no one thing in common. They are a family resemblance definition. An alkaloid is usually heterocyclic, that is, it consists of rings, its molecules consist of rings including a nitrogen atom. Bitter, usually, alkaline compounds which are found in plants and exert a marked physiological effect on some animals, usually the development one being the human. And all of those things can be questioned. Now, it is very unclear why they exist, but they seem to confer a protective effect on the plant because of the way they have a marked physiological effect. So basically, they are there to poison the organisms that eat them and therefore protect the plant. However, all of those things have exceptions as far as I can think. I'm not sure about the nitrogen thing, okay, but there are a lot of other nitrogen-containing compounds that are not alkaloids, such as amino acids. Also, they're solid on the whole, although one of them is liquid. So there you go. So the situation with alkaloids is the exceptions are heterocyclic, in other words, ones that don't consist of rings. There are ones that don't consist of rings. Of plant origin, yes, there are exceptions to that. For example, there are alkaloids in toad skin, which are hallucinogenic, of course, and also adrenaline could be considered to be an alkaloid too, which is in humans and mammals in general, and other animals. So they are not really any of those things, and they have certain things in common, but not all of them. They used to be thought of as the end product of nitrogen metabolism, like nitrogenous waste such as urea, uric acid and so forth, but then it was found that they go up and down during the season and therefore probably are not a way of doing that. They all contain basic nitrogen atoms, I think. So they're not necessarily plant origin, they're not necessarily solid, they're not necessarily alkaline, they're acidic alkaloids, and they're not necessarily heterocyclic. So that sort of takes most of the definition away from it. Now, examples of alkaloids include caffeine, of course, which is a central nervous system stimulant and cardiac stimulant, cocaine, which is again a central nervous system stimulant but also an anesthetic, and other ones such as nicotine, which is a liquid, that is the liquid exception, and other things such as vincristine, well, there are loads of others basically. Hyoscine would be another one, which is a vasodilator. So those are what the alkaloids are. Now, the thing to remember about the alkaloids in particular is that because they're alkaline, that means that if you put them in a chemical acidic solution, they will tend to become stronger, and if you put them in an alkaline solution, they will tend to become weaker because they will become less or more soluble, which is one of the reasons why I always say you can put herbal remedies into pear juice or honey, but nothing else, because those two are neutral, and that's why I mention them. Now, there is another thing about herbal remedies, which is that herbal remedies often, when they contain alkaloids, also contain tannins, and tannins bring alkaloids out of solution with the exception of caffeine. So that will prevent them from being absorbed and it will precipitate them. There are a lot of things that tannins actually precipitate. So that will be the kind of thing that is a way of throwing it out of balance, but sometimes it may actually be advantageous to throw it out of balance. The other thing about alkaloids is that when you start thinking about plants as containing alkaloids and the active ingredients being the alkaloids, that makes them conceptually more like ordinary remedies, ordinary drugs, because that would be focusing on one substance within the herb and possibly purifying that substance, removing the effect of the other substances, and it becomes more refined and sort of finely honed in a way that Western herbalism doesn't really do very much, because Western herbalism is about whole remedies in the same way as health foods are whole foods. So that's basically what I've got to say about alkaloids. I'll probably do something on tannins at some point, and I'll see you soon, but not necessarily tomorrow. By the way, I know I was going to try and make these things more sophisticated, and I know I haven't done that with this one, but obviously I've got a lot going on in my head right now, and a lot of other stuff going on, and so it's rather difficult for me to focus enough to do that, but I will get down to it. I will get my nose to the grindstone and I will start doing good videos. But for the time being, here's a video about alkaloids. See you tomorrow, maybe.